Hello, my name is Dorothy. I never imagined that I would be here, sharing this extraordinary experience. I was an ordinary woman, dedicated to my work and my family. My life was simple, but filled with love and purpose. I woke up every day with a mission to make a difference in the lives of those around me, especially the elderly I cared for. However, everything changed dramatically on October 3, 2023. On that fateful day, I died. For a few minutes, I was outside of this world and witnessed something beyond our comprehension. I met Jesus, and what he revealed to me about spiritual deception and race left me speechless. I need to share this with you because the truth cannot wait. The morning of October 3rd started like any other. I woke up early, stretched my arms, and gave thanks for another day. The sun shone through the window, casting a soft golden glow over the room. I followed my usual routine. I put on my navy blue work uniform and headed to the kitchen, where the aroma of fresh coffee filled the air. I worked as a caregiver at a nursing home, a job I had always loved. Each senior had a unique story, and I felt honored to care for them. The day was full of commitments, but nothing out of the ordinary. I visited Mrs. Johnson, who always had a lively story to tell about her younger days, and Mr. Ray, who loved to hum old hymns of praise. Mrs. Johnson, with her bright eyes and infectious smile, told me about her adventures as a young man, traveling the world and experiencing new cultures. Mr. Ray, with his soft, melodious voice, hummed hymns he had learned as a child, bringing a sense of peace and tranquility to the room. I felt blessed to be able to share these moments with them, learning from their experiences and wisdom. At the end of my shift, exhausted, I stopped at the bakery to buy my son's favorite cornbread. The rain was starting to fall, but I didn't worry. I had driven in the rain countless times. I turned on the radio to my favorite gospel station and hummed along the familiar path. Suddenly, everything changed. Blinding headlights came toward me, a truck swerving on the wet road. I tried to swerve, but it was too late. The impact was violent, with the sound of metal clashing and glass shattering. Everything went black, and I couldn't feel anything. Time seemed to stand still as I tried to process what was happening. My body was thrown forward, and the seatbelt tightened around my chest, knocking the breath out of me. The deafening sound of metal twisting and glass breaking echoed in my ears. I could see nothing but the blinding headlights of the oncoming truck. In an instant, everything went silent and dark. When I regained consciousness, I felt no pain or panic, just an overwhelming emptiness. Suddenly, I realized that I was no longer in my car or my body. I saw the scene of the accident from above, the paramedics desperately trying to rescue me. A feeling of weightlessness enveloped me, as if I were floating without gravity. Everything seemed brighter and clearer. I saw every detail with stunning clarity. The raindrops sparkling like tiny diamonds, the grass gently swaying in the wind. It was then that I saw my mother, who had died 5 years ago, watching everything with a peaceful gaze. She didn't speak, but her face conveyed a deep and serene love. I felt strangely calm, despite the chaotic situation around me. I could see the paramedics working frantically to get me out of the wrecked car. A young paramedic, his eyes full of concern, was shouting my name, trying to get some response. I wanted to respond, but my voice wouldn't come out. It was as if I were a silent observer, unable to interact with the physical world. A bright, welcoming light enveloped me, calling me closer. I felt a deep love and an indescribable peace. I heard a soft but powerful voice. "Dorothy, come." It was Jesus. I approached the light, feeling every burden and regret melt away. His presence was overwhelming, a love that transcended anything I had ever experienced. He showed me visions of my past, moments when I felt alone, but where angels were by my side. Every action, every kind word, all echoed into eternity. Tears streamed down my face as I realized the impact of each small act of kindness. Jesus showed me scenes from my childhood, moments when I felt lonely and misunderstood. I saw myself sitting alone on the playground at school, wishing I had someone to play with. But in that vision, I was not alone. Angels were by my side, protecting and comforting me, even when I could not see them. He showed me how every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, had a lasting impact on the lives of those around me. Jesus showed me the world as he sees it: pain, disappointment, and spiritual manipulation. I saw people divided by race, influenced by unseen forces. He revealed to me that the enemy uses history to blind and divide, but Jesus came to set us free. There are no racial divisions in his eyes, only his people. I saw how technology was being used to control and manipulate, leading people to accept implants that would eventually control them completely. These devices were not just tools of convenience, but tools of control, monitoring their every move and thought. He showed me visions of people all over the world, from different cultures and backgrounds, all struggling against the same spiritual forces. I saw how the enemy whispered lies in their ears, fueling hatred and division. Black people carried the pain and anger of past generations, while white people were consumed by guilt and fear. But Jesus showed me that these divisions were illusions, created to keep us trapped in a cycle of conflict and mistrust. I was transported to a vision of the future, where people lived in a world controlled by implanted technology. There was no genuine human interaction, only blind obedience to devices. Jesus showed me that this was only the beginning of the deception that would lead to total control. I saw multitudes receiving implants, believing that this would improve their lives, not realizing that they were slowly being enslaved. The streets were silent except for the constant buzz of electronic devices. People moved like automatons, their eyes fixed on invisible screens, guided by a force they could neither see nor question. The cities were covered in a thick, dark fog, a physical manifestation of the spiritual deception that enveloped the world. People walked the streets with blank expressions, their movements mechanical and predictable. There was no laughter, no conversation, only the monotonous sound of footsteps and the constant buzz of electronic devices. I saw families sitting in restaurants, staring blankly into space, their minds controlled by unseen forces. But I also saw points of light, people who resisted deception and stood firm in their faith. Jesus told me that these were his warriors, those who spoke the truth and freed others from the chains of deception. They did not need weapons or physical strength. Their weapon was the truth. The more they spoke the truth, the more people were freed from the enemy's control. I saw how these people gathered in small groups, praying and encouraging one another, keeping the flame of hope alive in the midst of the growing darkness. These warriors of light were ordinary people, just like you and me. They were teachers, mothers, fathers, workers, students, and leaders in their communities. Each of them carried a light that pushed back the darkness around them. They spoke the truth with courage and conviction, and their words had the power to break the chains of deception. I saw how their actions inspired others to join them, forming a network of resistance against the forces of darkness. I felt a force pulling me back. I woke up in the hospital, surrounded by my weeping family. The doctors said my chances were slim, but God had other plans. I shared my experience, but many did not believe me. However, some listened and felt the truth in my words. I saw how society was slowly being shaped to accept total control, with churches and financial institutions embracing technology without question. Ordinary people were being manipulated into believing that these changes were for the greater good, without realizing the price they would pay for this convenience. My family was in shock, their faces streaked with tears of sadness and relief. My sister held my hand tightly, whispering my name over and over, as if that would keep me there with them. The doctors were amazed at my recovery, attributing it to a miracle. I knew it was more than that. It was the hand of God at work in my life, giving me a second chance to share His message. Jesus showed me that those who are His will be protected, no matter how dark the situation gets. But we must be willing to see the truth and choose to follow Him, even when it's hard. He showed me two roads, one wide and comfortable, which leads to destruction, and one narrow and challenging, which leads to salvation. Most will choose the easy way, but those who seek Jesus and trust Him will be led home. I saw how those who remained steadfast in their faith were able to resist the temptations of the world, remaining faithful to God's calling. He showed me visions of people facing hardships and challenges in their faith journeys. Some were ridiculed for their beliefs, while others faced persecution and rejection. But despite the adversity, they remained steadfast, trusting that God would guide them through the storms. I saw how their lives were transformed by their faith, and how they became beacons of hope and inspiration to those around them. This is my story, and I hope it touches your hearts. I have been blessed with a second chance to share this message. Be alert, pray for discernment, and strengthen your faith. The truth needs to be known before it is too late. Do not let convenience and temporary comfort blind you to the spiritual reality that surrounds us. Seek the truth and stand firm in faith, for this is what will guide us on the path to salvation. Remember that each of us has a role to play in this spiritual battle. Our actions and words have the power to influence those around us, bringing light to darkness and hope to despair. Be courageous and speak the truth, even when it is difficult. Stand firm in faith and trust that God will guide you through every storm.